So welcome to Meaningful Interviews. I'm here today with Rabbi Eli Cohen, who's the Executive Director of the Crown Heights Community Council, good friend, and co-shluchim when we were in Northern California. Eli was the shliach in San Francisco, and I was in Marin County, and we know each other well. And I saw your picture, Eli, in I don't know how to say it, whatever people consider it positive, negative questions, but you stood out there, what seemed to be making shalom peace between the police and some Bacharim. So I want to ask a few questions and have you, explain as much as you can and want. Um, what was your role at the time?
So, first of all, good evening, Chaim. It's good to see you. And yeah, you don't also mention that we share a niece and nephew and children. So that's also
Yeah.
well, your niece is my daughter-in-law. So that's also a family connection too.
Yes.
So I run the Crown Heights Jewish Community Council, and one of the important roles that the Community Council has is to deal with connections with the police department. And this is a very important thing. Obviously, crime is always a concern in Crown Heights, and we need them to respond well, forcefully when there is crime. Um, Recently, we had we were, worried about some demonstrations, pro-Palestinian demonstrations that were supposed to be in near Crown Heights, and we really got the police to mobilize a tremendous force to make sure that that should not come too close to the neighborhood, and successfully so, with thanks to the mayor and the police chief and all the way up. Everyone was very, very cooperative. So maintaining positive relationships with the police department is a very important part of what I do, and also Rabbi Chanina Sperlin also, and others. Shmira, Shomrim are involved too. So I get a call. I was on the way to the office. Actually, wasn't feeling well. I stayed home a little bit in the morning. I was getting over some flu, but I had a meeting in the office. And as I'm on the way to the meeting, I get a call. Police were just called to 770. There's some construction was going. We knew about the construction already. We knew about it for a few days. That some of the young men that hang around 770. Some of them yeshiva bachrim, some of them were once yeshiva bachrim. Now I don't know exactly what they do, but they had taken it upon themselves to try and dig out the space alongside the shul to provide for a space to expand the shul. How they got this into the head that it will be successful, I have no idea. It's but they had some kind of plan. They had it all figured out, and after a few months of them doing this, it was realized somebody had noticed that this was going on. They called an engineer to see if there was any danger as far as the building is concerned. Not only the shul building, which it wasn't directly under the shul building, but it was under the women's gallery that's alongside the shul building, which is a separate building to itself. So the engineers came. The shul came up with a plan to fix the damage, and they had come with some cement trucks on that. I guess it was Tuesday afternoon to fill in the space that had been created to make sure that the women's shul was not in danger. So these boys took it upon themselves to use their own bodies to prevent the work from being done. And then once that happened, then some other fellows on the inside of the shul decided to try and actually break open the space from the shul into the space next to the shul to try and, quote, again, expand the shul. So I was first outside, and I asked, why are you all standing around? Why are you preventing the trucks from getting close? And then they said, well, we were inside the shul, and the yeshiva told us to go outside. So we went outside. So then I go inside the shul, and there was a big balagan. There was tremendous upheaval over there. whole crowd standing around, and some of these boys had broken a row of cinder blocks to open up the space from the shul to the excavated space outside, and uh, and there were police. There was going a little crazy. Well, I mean, it was people were screaming, dancing, singing, shouting, whatever, and the boys inside the excavated space were refusing to leave. So at that point, this is not a very comfortable situation. You have a few hundred people in the shul. You have armed policemen. They're very well trained. They're very disciplined, and actually, we saw that they behaved very, very calmly and took that time to do things appropriately. But they had to. Their job was now to take these people out of this space under a wall, which they didn't know if it's safe or it's not safe, if it could damage the building altogether or not. I don't know if by that time, but soon afterwards, the buildings department got involved and said that they would need to inspect it to see if there's a problem. So the people have to leave, and they were refusing to leave. So at that point, I tried to, again, my concern is there just shouldn't be a battle between police and community. Baruch Hashem, as I said, the police are generally very well trained and they don't get lost in these kind of situations, even though it's very intimidating. Years ago, there were situations where police were surrounded by an angry mob and people got hurt in the process. So it's not something which is so far-fetched. They have sticks, they have mace, they have guns, ultimately. Someone's life feels threatened. But so basically my point was to try and plead with the Bachrim, okay, you made your point. You know where it's going to go now. You need to leave at this point. And I first tried just talking to them, but they shouted me down. Then I borrowed a megaphone from the police inspector who was there, Inspector Smith from the 71st Precinct. And just, that was my message. Just stand back. If you're not involved in this, just get back out of the way. If you are involved, just go out peacefully. But it fell on deaf ears. I saw there was no logic going at that moment. And at that point, I just stepped to the side and I assured the police that I don't think there's going to be any real danger over here. I called somebody else who's close with some of these boys to go in and make sure that they understood that they can't fight. They have to come out peacefully. And one of the Gaboim came, also Zalman Lipsky. He also tried to reason with them, and it was also not successful. And then we just had to allow the police to move everyone back and take out the ones who were sitting in the good old American tradition of using your body to block progress.
Right. Okay, so thank you for that update of the real situation on the ground, which is very important. Now, it's several days later. Things have been a week later. Things have been fixed up. I've read the different proclamations and announcements and rules and regulations. What I want to ask you is, I don't know if you saw the clip I made last week about this, which got a lot of attention. And it seems to me, and I want to hear if you agree, disagree, and your opinion. It seems to me that there's a greater issue here. It's the issue of leadership. Leadership in the sense that we have like 4 or 5 different organizations, all involved and not involved. We have Congregational Lubavitch, who runs the shul downstairs. We have Agudas Chabad, who owns the building of 770, and I assume the other buildings. We have Merkez Linyonei Chinuch, which is, a main player in Chabad and in these buildings. We have the Crown Heights Community Council. We have Gaboyim, and we have Rabbanim. So we have all these different leaders and people. It just seems to me that this points to the greater issue that there's a breakdown of leadership. And if that's so, what is your opinion? Can we really get the leaders to get together where they can live with a compromise? Because, Crown Heights is here to stay, the shul is here to stay, the people are here to stay. How can we work it that there's a building owned by Agudas Chabad, as the Rebbe put on the building at the front? You go into 770, Yet the congregation of Lubavitch, which is, I think, an independent, separate shul congregation with a legal standing and all that, is in there. They have difference of opinions of how to run the shul. Can it work? That's my question.
Okay, so the good news, here's the good news. The good news is that throughout this entire process, from when the digging was first uncovered, and even before that, by the way, when there was some additions made, additional space that was created for the women's shul, and also that's used by the boys during the week for learning,
Right.
which is recent. And through this whole story, there's been a tremendous level of cooperation between the people in the offices upstairs in 770 who are affiliated with mostly with Mecca's and Yanei Chinuch, and who they have like a building management team that takes care of the rest of the building, and the shul management, which is the Gaboim. Now, just to correct, again, this is maybe a little subject to interpretation, and I happen to be on one side of this discussion. But people, Agudas Chabad, you mentioned, Agudas Chabad is the organization of Chabad following in the United States and Canada. That's what it is. So Agudas Chabad actually is all of us. Everybody who calls himself a Lubavitcher is a part of Agudas Chabad. There is a VAD, a directorship of Agudas Chabad. They're the trustees that are supposed to maintain the physical property. But always since the beginnings of Lubavitch in America, the reason that Agudas Chabad was created as an official legal organization was to purchase the shul, right? The original 770 building, which the shul. And the Rebbe said actually when the Frierdiker Rebbe came to the building the first time, the first place he went to was the small shul, which was the original shul. Yes. And he walked in, and the Rebbe explained that the reason he went there first is because, and he asked that the tefillos, the prayers that are said in the space should be accepted. Yes. Why? Because this was the main purpose. Okay. So this organization was created to provide a shul for the greater membership of Chabad. At that time was much smaller. Today it's many thousands, tens of thousands, and worldwide even. But that is the concept. Since the beginnings of that institution, since the day they moved in, the actual shul proceedings were run by Gaboim. In the beginning was Yochanan Gordon was the Gabbai, and Avram Popak, I think, was a Gabbai also in the time of the Frierdiker Rebbe. And later, when Rabbi Yochanan passed away, new Gabbaim were elected. Yanko Lipsker, Rabbi Moshe Pinchas Katz, Yanko Lipsker, the Zalman Blasovsky, yeah, and Shir Pinson, and one other who did not serve at that time, but those four served together. And the Rebbe said to them when they were elected actually in an election in 1970, after the passing of Rabbi Yochanan Gordon, and the Rebbe said that they should make sure not to displace Rabbi Avram Popak, who was a Gabbai still from before, from the time of the Frierdiker Rebbe. Then later, there was new elections for Gabbaim in the 80s. For whatever reason, those Gabbaim did not serve immediately, but they began to serve at the instruction of the Beis Din in 1996. And again, they were told at that time, or they made sure at that time that the Gabbaim who were existing from before, the ones who remained from the prior group, should continue to serve alongside the new ones that were appointed, or were given that opportunity at least. So that's been the tradition already. This is the way the shul is run. And for the last 70 years of, how long is Chabad in America? From 1940.
1942.
So 80 years. So we're already 80 years, 84 years.
84.
That's the way, yeah, that's the way that this organization is run. And we feel as members of the shul that this is a legal basis, and that continues to be. The question of using landlord tenant court to take out, I don't want to even go there, but that's another side. There is another view, but that's not my view, and I don't really want to spend a lot of time on the other view. But that's where we are as far. So, but I don't think that issue is really relevant. A few years ago, there's a young man by the name of Lipa Lieberman, was done a lot of work to try and see to it. The shul is obviously too small. And this is not just something which is physically true, but spiritually. The Rebbe spoke about it in Tafshin Beis, and he published a booklet, Beis Rabbeinu Shebabavel, and it was speaking about the duty on every single person to be involved in expanding the shul. And people gave at that time, they made a small expansion. They moved out the bathrooms and other facilities into the basement so there could be more space for davening. That was completed in about 1996. And at that time, leading up to that, the Rebbe gave out this spoke. He moved personally, placed the cornerstone at the expansion, but he hoped at that time for much more. He was somewhat disappointed that it only ended up with a limited expansion. But the Rebbe made it clear, and people at that time gave literally money they did not have. At that time, if you gave $770 over the course of several months, and I did it too, I'm sure you did, you could get a plaque, a magnetic plaque that was on a wall in the expansion, and that was there for many years until it deteriorated and it was removed. But the idea was people gave beyond their means because the Rebbe said it's an obligation on every person to see the shul should be bigger. Everyone knows that so many more people came than could fit in the shul during Yom Tov, that there was a 200-foot tent set up in the roadway outside the shul.
Service lane.
Yes, and in the roadway to allow another few thousand people to be able to have a space to be, and the space between the tent and the shul was also full. So there were thousands and thousands of people on the street outside, in the tent outside, that couldn't get into the shul.
During Tishrei, during the month of Tishrei.
During the Yom Tovim of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, yes. So this is what we're dealing with. So clearly the shul needs to be expanded. What was a problem years ago, why it didn't happen, was because some of the buildings were not in Jewish hands. Since that time, that is no longer an impediment. So all the buildings that need to be removed in order for the space for the shul to grow are already available to us in some form or other. There may be some details to be worked out with different owners, but there's nobody who says, I don't want the shul to be there. Was an old non-Jewish family that did not want, but they still, since that space has been also acquired. So the time of the original, so I'm saying at the time of the original expansion in 1996, that time they thought when the Rebbe came out for the stone placing, it was believed at that time they had already a deal to buy the one remaining house that wasn't available, but that fell through, and that was part of the reason why it wasn't a full expansion at that time. But then, regardless of that, but my point is that Lippel Lieberman, with a group of other people, have been working for a long time to try and bring everybody together, to go beyond whatever dispute and say, look, there has to be a way to work together to have some kind of joint management of the shul. And basically, a framework of an agreement was created that would take into account the needs of both the organizations and the people who daven in the shul regularly. In other words, the central Lubavitch organizations and the people who daven in the shul, who have also some membership in the shul. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, that deal didn't get to the finish line. It got very close, but it didn't get to the finish line a couple of years ago. There still was some block. I don't know what it was exactly, but it didn't end up happening. But it's a deal which is written, it's on paper, it's a plan, it's ready to happen.
Let me interrupt you for a second. May I interrupt for a second, please?
Sure.
I hear. But we do have to tackle this other issue. And that
all right,
is,
so okay. Yeah,
wait,
so
wait,
let me say,
wait a minute, Ellie, 1 second. I understand about the expansion. The issue, tell me if I'm wrong, but isn't some of the reluctance from the Aguch or the Merkez, whoever the players, the other side, why they're reluctant is because they don't feel that the shul is following in the way they want the decorum of a shul to be. Now, am I right or wrong in what I just said? Give me a brief answer.
A brief answer is I don't think so. I don't think that's the problem. In other words, maybe some people feel. I think that the difference is, okay, it depends. There's two different things over here, okay? And that's where we're going with this. There's two different things. One is it's well known, there are people for whom the identification of the Rebbe, everyone believes that the Rebbe said Mashiach is coming immediately. Everyone in Lubavitch agrees that the world is going to be a better place. It's going to be a beautiful place. The knowledge of godliness is going to fill the air, and and Torah believes that the one who brings us to that place is a person, a Mashiach, who's descendant of David HaMelech, and so on. The question only is that some organizations within the Lubavitch structure are not so comfortable with saying that directly that the Rebbe is the one that leads that redemption, especially since the passing of the Rebbe in
but
Tafshin.
even if we accept that, the point is the decorum of the shul. They
So
don't
that's a
want
different. Okay, so I was going to
they
say.
don't want a
So
pathway.
correct. Okay,
315.
we're getting there. I know. I understand where you're going, and we're going to get there. So that issue is the non-issue. That's the one I want to say. That's the one where you could work out a compromise. The issue of how upfront are you with saying that the Rebbe is Mashiach, the Rebbe is one that's leading us to the redemption, to say long live the Rebbe, King Mashiach, which is said at certain by people. Everyone can figure that out. What's a problem is that we have a young group of students who have over the years become more and more and more determined to act out every single nuance of activity that was done around the Rebbe mostly in the late 80s into 1990 and 91, and make as if the Rebbe is walking in now, he's walking out now, he's going here, he's going there, he's doing this activity, that activity, and they've turned this into a sort of religion of their own. And the Gaboim have not had either the support and or the strength to be able to prevent this, which is clearly, it's just disruptive, because sometimes it's done with some kinds of people have been hurt in the process of getting in the way of this. Some people are very bothered by it. Other people feel it's a massive imperative, and it's up to the Gaboim to set a tone, but they need the help to be able to enforce it. Whatever tone they set is upheld, and that's been the discussion. That's been the discussion over the last few days in around the circles that I'm in.
Right.
Is about specifically this issue.
Right.
How do we see to it that decorum is enforced in the shul?
Okay, so but 1 second. I want to go back. I want to go back for a second. I hear you, but I want to go back.
Wait. So I'm going to go for.
No. 1 second.
Fine. Okay, go ahead.
Are you telling me, Eli? Are you telling me that the Merkez and the Aguch are going to accept and are happy with the big sign Yekia Denenu on the wall of 770 shul?
I think that issue can be worked out in negotiation. It's exactly how it should look, where it should be, how many should be. That's not the issue that's holding us back. The issue that's holding us back is just the will to want to get it done. The side issue of what to do about the lack of decorum, I think if there was a serious commitment by everybody, we're all working together as we have done in the last couple of weeks, then the other issue will go away. I just want to say one thing though. The big missing element over here that you did not mention when you listed all the people that are not providing leadership, you left one big elephant out of the room, and that is the yeshiva template tzmimim.
Yes, I reminded myself afterwards, but I didn't want. I agree with you. Yes,
because the yeshiva for many years has been bringing here groups from Eretz Yisrael. It's known as kfutza. So this was a thing that Rebbe wanted, that the people from Eretz Yisrael should come here for 1 year to learn, to live in the atmosphere of the Rebbe's presence, to acquire the feeling of what it means to be connected to what happens in the Rebbe's center. And they come for before Tishrei 1 year, and they go home after Tishrei the next year. And unfortunately, every group that's come over the last few years has been determined to show that they're one step more extreme than the group that was before them. So, and the yeshiva that brings them has absolutely refused and abdicated its responsibility to do anything about it.
Why?
I don't know. I do know.
I do know.
Okay, then you know better than me.
And you want to know why?
Go ahead.
Because without these 200 boys, 770 Mivtzoyim is all quiet, still, silence, low key. These boys from Tzvas, from Eretz Yisrael, are firebrands. We all know that. And the yeshiva needs such guys to make the place happen. I think that's the reason.
Well, it's, you know what? There is a lot of enthusiasm, but they have a lot of boys and they come from a lot of different places with a lot of different views. And not all of them are focused this way. So from the, let's say, I don't know, you think even 400 boys came this year. 200
wow.
are from different yeshivas. Another 100 are from, even depending on even what different feeling. Yeah, yes, the ones who are very enthusiastic about Mashiach are a little more enthusiastic about everything.
Right.
But you will see that there are many boys who are not from these yeshivas who go on the Wednesday hour to go and teach kids.
And they're learning.
In the
It's
tanks and Mitzrayim, and they go out into the mitzvah campaigns, into the offices. So they are engaged, they are involved, and I think that it's not a contradiction that you can have both at the same time. You can harness the enthusiasm, and you can provide direction. You're a yeshiva, you're bringing people, your job is chinuch, is education, to do it the right way, to make sure that you have a basic control over your students. And if someone is not following the rules, I'm sorry, you will you don't belong here.
Right. So here's the question. The yeshiva's administration, the Toim Chetmim Lubavitch yeshiva, known as 770, where do they fit in the scheme of Aguch and Congregation Lubavitch? In other words, do they have an equal ownership to the building, even spiritually?
No. Well, I would say that they're a guest in the building. So the yeshiva has always been there since the beginning. So traditionally, but it never had a management role in the building. It only was involved. They were there. They used to participate in the costs at some point. They stopped, but they used to participate in the costs of maintaining the building. But the yeshiva does not have any legal standing in the building because it's as a guest. So a guest here today, you don't go by the rules. Gone tomorrow. But the yeshiva, spiritually, yes. I'm talking about not legally and physically.
But not, Ellie, not even spiritually. The Frierdiker Rebbe, the previous Rebbe, he wanted the yeshiva in 770.
Of course, yeah. Spiritually, yes. Spiritually, they have.
What do you mean spiritually? He wanted them physically to be in the yeshiva, in this building.
Right. But and the yeshiva was there from day one. No question about it. Then it used to be.
Exactly.
Then at that time, it was the young kids, by the way. It wasn't the.
I know, okay, but then got the older,
But there was later a time when the Rebbe said that the kibbutza groups should not learn in 770, only the older boys that are after kibbutza. And the kibbutza actually went then, and in the time that I was learning in the yeshiva, the kibbutza groups were in another building, Chavad, which is across Eastern Parkway, a block down. There's a big shul over there, which now has
Murphy Shul.
Yeah, which now has Masiftas and other groups there, but the yeshiva and the yeshiva gedela, but not the kfutza and not the senior bachim. So I think in my time that I studied in yeshiva, and probably when you were there, only the oldest, most senior boys in the last year or two of the yeshiva, they were in that building.
770.
Right, and the others were elsewhere.
What's your point?
My point is that if the younger boys should be there on condition that they can follow rules and behave, and if not, the yeshiva should not allow them to be there. And if they are busy, instead of learning and doing the things they have to do, they're busy with organizing different activities in the shul which are not connected to them, which have no connection to their studies, then with full apology, let them take it elsewhere.
So basically, what I'm hearing from you is that you're kind of putting the blame. It sounds like you're putting the blame on the administration of the yeshiva. Is that correct?
A large part of it. I can't say anybody's fully to blame, and I can't say anybody's fully not to blame. All of
Okay.
us have some responsibility,
Okay.
but a large part of this belongs to the yeshiva.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's go back to what you put under the rug before, because it has to be discussed, at least briefly. The landlord tenant issue. Could you please address that?
Well, about now is 2014. So, and I think 2024.
And now it's
So
2024.
2014. In 2011, I believe, or 2012, I'm not sure. So 12 or 13 years ago, a eviction proceeding was begun by Agudas Americas to remove the shul from the premises.
Right.
And the
reason,
there was no reason given. It's what they call it's an eviction proceeding. We're terminating your license. Till now you were welcome. Now you're not welcome anymore. It's
and they don't need to
standard
give a
procedure.
reason because they're the owners.
If you own a home, right? If you own a building, you own a house,
right?
And
but
somebody's living in your apartment,
right? But why do you think they did that?
I don't know. That's a very good question, but they did it. I don't think it was a smart move. It didn't get good publicity in the newspapers,
right.
But they did it anyway.
You don't think they did it because they disagreed with the philosophical, ideological ideas of Mashiachism, that the congregation of Lubavitch was on that trajectory? You don't think that was the reason?
I do think that was the reason, but that's not something that you do in landlord tenant court. Landlord tenant court is for an owner and a tenant. It's not for an organization which has differences about how you run things. When it's an internal dispute into how you run things, that does not belong in landlord tenant court. So that's been the position of the shul since then.
So what happened since then? Go ahead.
Well, nothing's happened. It's now 13 years later. About 2017, after the case was over, the judge came to actually see the premises. She walked around, and and then in 2020, she issued a decision. The shul is appealing that decision. The decision was that the shul did have to leave the premises, but that is now appealed. The appeal was heard a few weeks ago in what's called the appellate term, and the judges from the appellate term have to give a decision. But again, all that is basically, the claim from the shul side is this is not a landlord-tenant dispute about whether the shul should be here or shouldn't be here. This is a dispute about how the shul should be run, and that doesn't belong in landlord-tenant court. So I'm hopeful, and the judges looked very understanding of the shul's point of view. But we'll see what the final result is. But I think, in a way, it's an excuse to wait. Let's wait until it's over in order to do what we have to do, which expand the shul, which to me is ridiculous, because this will continue on still for a long time. But if we can have an opportunity and we can all get together and figure things out, why do we need to have a lawsuit? All we need to do is get together and build, raise money and build. And I believe that there'll be plenty of support for building the shul. This is something which the whole world has an interest in. I was just recently in a shul in Yerushalayim, where they have more than 2,500 seats in the main hall of the shul. We have maybe 700 seats, so we have it's very possible to build a big and beautiful and expansive shul. The space is there, the money could be raised, the will is there, and the few details have to be worked out, and it could be done in no time at all.
Okay, so you don't anticipate a quick decision by the appellate court?
It's not the final thing. There are still levels of appeal. Again, we're in this already 13 years, and everybody was saying at the beginning, a few more months. Even there was another case before this one after the stone. And so this is actually going on for 20 years, since 2004, in another case. And everyone was saying, and I have recordings of people saying 15 years ago, a couple of months we're going to be in there. So this is not the way to resolve it through the court. The way to resolve it is through an agreement.
So since this fiasco of last week, do you see any positive movement in that direction?
Yes.
Coming from the Agudas Americas side?
Yeah, there have been some new discussions. There are still a few holdouts up there that are not interested in a compromise, but I would say that most people there and most people elsewhere are interested in compromise. We've seen some tremendous strides in the way that people have worked together to resolve. I mean, it's a miracle. I don't know if you deal with anything to do with buildings, or if you've had any dealings. The idea that a massive
In California, I did not here.
California did. Okay, that's a few years ago. But
Yeah.
in New York, to get permissions, to get approvals, is very difficult. And the city went literally was amazing to, and the contractor was amazing. Yossi Langsam came in with a whole crew, and in 2 days they reinforced the wall, they filled in the hole, they put in new paneling. I mean, to do this kind of repair in your house would take 3 or 4 months, and they did the whole thing in 2 or 3 days. Amazing. So when people work together, amazing things can be accomplished. It's way beyond what anyone can imagine, and it will be here too.
God willing. Now, one last thing before we sign off. There's, I saw the announcement. There's going to be elections for a new board in 14 months, and also to bring in a third Rav. Is that correct?
Well, right now, I think we have to do this piece by piece. I think it would be a mistake to rush ahead and try and do everything at once. So the first step, there's a tradition that goes back about to 1986. So that's how many years? About 38 years, right?
Yeah.
There's a tradition of the community leadership, including the Rabbanim, being elected by the entire community. So we now, the Beis Din is a situation where, unfortunately, Rabbi Shvei passed away a few years ago. We are very much feeling the need to fill the Beis Din, to have 3 Rabbanim. Rabbi Azov should live long. Rabbi Cohen are doing a tremendous job. And they've really come together over the last couple of years to work on a lot of things, but we still need the third Rav. But in order to get to that point, I think we have to get through another step first, which is to have what's called Vad HaKol, which is the communal organizations that are supposed to support the Beis Din are ready to be refreshed with new blood. The people in there right now really feel that it's time to pass the torch. Usually it's supposed to be a 3-year term. They've been in for 13 years already. They've really put in that time. So before we go to the next step, I think we're going to see an election for Vad HaKol first, probably before the summer. The date that we spoke about is June 16. And then following that will be after a few months, once things get stabilized, I think then we'll be able to start working on the election of another Rav. And also, if there are people interested, and at some point there should be an election also for, every so often we have election for Gaboim of 770, and that probably will take place at some time in the future too. But it's a very difficult pace to walk into right now. So I don't think that it will be profitable to try and do everything at once. Let's get the Vad HaKol done first. Let's deal with the Rabbanim next, and then we'll go to the Gaboim, will be step 3.
So even the Gaboyim's election is under your jurisdiction, the Christ Community Council?
No, it's not. No, actually, I'm a worker. I just work for the Community Council.
Right.
I have a little institutional knowledge because I've been around a couple of cycles, so I know what's going on.
Right.
Some of the people who were involved in the past have not been involved, so I'm trying to just advise and push to make it happen. But ultimately, the group that does all this work of creating the elections are the shul representatives from all the shuls of Crown Heights. They've started to meet, and we got a very good response finally that many shuls have come together. There's a good spirit of Agudas, of working together to make it happen, and I think it's going to happen very soon.
Thank you very much. Rabbi Eli, thank you very much. Shabbat Tzlach and everything. We have to sign off. Sei gesund, Mashiach now.
Amen.